If we were to construct the Mount Rushmore of run-and-gun shooters, who would make the cut? Certainly Contra deserves a spot, as does Gunstar Heroes and probably the Metal Slug series. But what would that fourth game be? If I had my way, I'd go with Iron Meat. Sure, it's brand new and from a first-time developer, but this recently released run-and-gunner is easily the most fun that I've had with the genre in years. In a year, when Konami released new Contra game, this indie shooter leaves Operation Galuga in the dust. Find out why when I review Iron Meat from Retroware. Iron Meat is an easy game to pitch. It's just like Contra, only with a real emphasis on body horror. When an interdimensional gate is opened up, a bunch of monsters known as the Meat invade our world and begin to merge with cars, trains, and, well, pretty much anything else it comes in contact with. With our biggest cities overrun and humanity on life support, it's up to a small army of soldiers to fight through 9 gruesome stages to defeat the Meat. That is, assuming they have the stomach for it. If you love run-and-gun shooters, then you're gonna feel right at home playing Iron Meat. This is one of those throwbacks that doesn't mess with a good thing. It plays by the genre rules and gives you exactly what you want. You take control of a customizable soldier who can run and jump and shoot a bunch of big guns. That's it. There's no motorcycle races or annoying overhead levels. Just straightforward, side-scrolling action, the way you want it. This allows the levels to really shine, both in their design and their grotesqueness. All 9 levels are incredible looking, using gorgeous pixel graphics and layer upon layer of bloody mayhem. Without even saying a single word, this game excels in world building and showing you the destruction that is caused by these meaty monsters. What's more, you'll find that many of these levels have alternate paths or just something unique that sets them apart. For example, one stage will have you platform jumping on a giant flying ship, while another will want you to dodge laser beams by hiding behind crates and boxes. At first, these levels are going to seem incredibly hard. You get 16 lives per level on the default difficulty, and at first, it's gonna feel like you're gonna need all of them. However, when I played the same level a second time, I was ready for it. I knew what to expect and barely even needed those 16 lives. And that ends up being true about all 9 of the stages. This is one of those games where it seems impossible at first, yet it won't take you more than a second try before you become an unstoppable killing machine. It's a combination of the levels being incredibly memorable and the difficulty not being cheap and punishing. The challenge is fair, not frustrating. When I died, it was often because I misjudged the bullet or I didn't make that jump, not because of factors that were outside of my control. Now look, even when you have to play some of the levels a couple of times before you can advance, you aren't gonna complain. What it does is it gives you a chance to admire the wonderfully detailed backgrounds and the gruesome horror elements. This game is gross, and I mean that as a compliment. It's not just the weird mutant enemies that you fight, but the way the Meat has turned normal everyday items against us. It reminds me a lot of John Carpenter's version of The Thing, only that this alien is willing to merge with cars and crates and apartment buildings, not just humans. The result is bloody and gory and so much fun. And you better believe that this extends all the way up to the boss encounters, each of which are more memorable and disgusting than the last. It's not just that you're fighting a helicopter that aliens have taken over, but rather that the alien has literally fused with the helicopter to create an unholy union of meat and metal. And let me tell you, you can just feel in your bones that there's something terrible waiting for you at the end of that train level. Every boss has been lovingly drawn and animated, giving us an unsettling design that is both familiar and alien at the same time. And you know what? These are lengthy battles too. Many of the bosses will have multiple phases you have to complete, requiring both memorization and skill. Iron Meat has at least 2 of the year's best boss battles, which should be incentive enough to keep you playing all the way up to the end. Speaking of incentives, this is a game that is constantly rewarding you for replaying the levels and completing challenges. There are actually 34 playable characters in all, which you'll earn from leveling up through experience points and beating the game and levels in different ways. Unfortunately, these heroes don't play any differently. But there is a pretty cool variety of character types, including space marines, cowboys, superheroes, a cyclops, and even a banana. But look, even without these incentives, I would have had a lot of fun playing and replaying this game over and over, if only for the exciting action and the great sense of atmosphere. As somebody who loves both run-and-gun shooters and horror, Iron Meat is honestly a dream come true. This really is one of those games where every single element comes together to create something truly special. It looks incredible, the gameplay is spot on, all 9 levels are memorable, it's full of creative bosses, and it doesn't hold back on the blood and guts. Developer Ivan Suvorov has been working on this game since 2017, and it shows. This just feels like the kind of game that somebody's lived and breathed for 7 years. This is a game where you can tell that every inch of the level has been carefully considered and designed. This really is a strong and confident debut game that not only matches the greats of the run-and-gun genre, but will honestly exceed all expectations. Now, if you insist on me finding something wrong with Iron Meat, then prepare to be disappointed. But the only complaint I have is in the firepower, which feels like it was lifted directly out of previous run-and-gunners. You get the usual machine guns, missiles, spread shot, and so on. You can also upgrade each of these weapons once, though that won't make a huge difference. You can hold 2 different weapons at once and switch between them at any time, similar to most shooters in this space. And while it all works perfectly well, I did find myself wishing for more interesting weapons. I'll admit, this is a minor issue and definitely won't get in the way of you having a good time. It's probably worth mentioning that Iron Meat is being published by Retroware, whose previous game was last year's Prison City. That was a phenomenal throwback game that mimicked Taito's Power Blade series to great effect, and Iron Meat is the perfect follow-up for the publisher. This is an equally exciting shooter that understands what makes those classic 8 and 16-bit games so much fun. Forget about that new Contra game, because Iron Meat is this year's best run-and-gun shooter, and it's not even close. If you're a fan of Contra and body horror, then you're gonna fall in love with every gory detail of Iron Meat. Developed over the last 7 years, this passion project is a love letter to classic run-and-gun shooters that not only matches the genre greats, but actually exceeds many of them. It's gorgeous to look at, is remarkably easy to play, and has some of the coolest bosses of the year. It's also a strong and extremely confident debut release from one of the best up-and-coming developers in the industry today. Iron Meat is a real treat. A bloody, gruesome, and disgusting treat. Hey, thanks for watching my review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your run-and-gun Mount Rushmore? I'm specifically looking for the 4 series that you would consider to be the best and most iconic of the genre. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back later this week with a brand new Review Crew episode. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,